Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. I want to start today by talking about viewer comments. I love getting comments from all of you. It really is what makes this experience very rewarding for me. So I just want to start by saying thanks a lot for everyone who leaves comments. You know, whether it's just to say hi or offer a suggestion or even criticism. I really appreciate the feedback. I also want to discuss the fact that you are sometimes going to see a lag between your comments and my discussing them in a video. Usually I respond to comments within a few hours, unless I'm sleeping, on YouTube. But I'm going to discuss some comments now, and it's probably going to be 4 or 5 days since the comments were made and the time that you hear me talk about it. And the reason for that is just that I try to have, somewhere between 5 and 10 episodes already recorded in advance. So that way, if I get busy with work or some sort of real life scenario and I don't get a chance to record every day, I've got a few episodes already that I just need to edit and upload. So again, I'm going to discuss a few comments here that I thought were pretty good ideas and suggestions that were probably made a few days before you're going to see this. But I just wanted to explain why, so that you know what the reason for that is. So in regards to plastic, Harry Svensson made the suggestion to put the inserters for these last two machines to the side, because I was having trouble getting this beacon in position to hit more than just these two machines on the end. So his suggestion was to send this underground belt all the way out here, put these two beacons next to each other, and then we can have the inserters for these two come out the side because there was no room below. So I did that, and then I just used splitters to join these onto the main belt, and that worked great. So thanks for that idea. That was a good one. And then using these splitters to merge the belts for these last two also helps a little bit with the compression of the belt. So that was a good idea. I got a few suggestions regarding the turrets, artillery turrets. First of all, Anthony, and forgive me if I mispronounce the name, but Anthony Lias or Anthony Lias pointed out that you can see your turret range by clicking the turret coverage on the map. I've never really used that feature before, so that's good to see. And you can see this big red circle is the range of my artillery wagon that's on my train right here. So that should be about 7 chunks in diameter. And then if I pick up the targeting remote, it gets even bigger so that you can see the range when you're holding the remote. So that is a very useful feature, and I'm glad that was pointed out to me. Thank you, Anthony. Wes mentioned that the target tool itself will tell you how many cannons are within range of where you're pointing your targeting device. So we can see here there's a number 1, and because I only have one cannon set up, maybe what we could do to test this out, let's put these other two down, and we can probably see the number change. Oh, I think we have to give them ammo. Let's try this. Let me go get some ammo. Doo-doo-doo. I'll just grab 2 shells. I guess I don't need to walk back over there, but I just want to be able to differentiate the range between that and this and these two. Alright. So if I hold this... Alright, yeah, so now we get a number 3 here in the middle. I think if I go out to the edge, there's a 2, and then over on this edge we should see a 1. Yeah, so that's also very good to know. Cool. So thanks for that, Wes. Andrew Kaiser said that you can get better results from splash damage if you target in between spawners rather than directly on top. So if we have two that are close to each other, next time I'll try targeting in the middle, and hopefully I can take two out with one shell. I haven't tried that yet because, as you can see from my map, there are no biter bases currently revealed. I spent some time clearing them out recently. And for the most part, I'm going to do that off camera. You guys have seen me do it a couple times now, and I don't think there's a need for me to continue doing it. Unless you really like watching it. If that's the case, let me know, and I'll continue to do that while recording. And then the last suggestion was that I wanted to mention today was from Froylan13. And he said, why do you bother filtering the cargo wagon for half-empty barrels? And my response was I always wanted to have room to bring empty barrels back, but to be quite honest, I don't think that that is really necessary, because as soon as we take any barrels out, if we take full barrels out of the train, then that's automatically going to create room for empty ones to go in. And because we're using filter inserters and we only have these two items to worry about, we'll get rid of those filters, and that'll make things a little bit simpler, and we can use up to the full cargo wagon if we need to. Now in this case, there are no more empty barrels, and that's probably because, let me turn that off, we have a lot of full barrels there, so there aren't too many empty ones ready to come back. But I thought that was a good idea too. I try to keep things simple, but sometimes I make things more complicated than they have to be for whatever reason. So, all right, on to business. So I showed you the plastic. Oh, another thing that I've done in between episodes here is I set up a buffer chest with locomotives and wagons. I did set up over, here we go. I set up over here a little area to make those things. So I'm making storage tanks because those are needed for the fluid wagons. And then I have the cargo wagons and the locomotives. Since they require steel and engines and circuits, this seemed like a good place to do it without having to run lots of belts everywhere. So it did make things a little bit more messy, but it's very convenient, so I went for it. And then I also added this little spur rail, and I'm calling this station the train deployment station. And you'll notice that there's no entrance. I don't anticipate ever actually sending a train to this station, but I'll be using this train to deploy new trains. And actually, let me make that a stack inserter. So anytime we need to get a new train in the system, since I have the train components there, I can grab those, I can put the train here, set the schedule, and then send it on its way. It'll get full of coal or whatever other fuel we decide to use. And I can just use this piece of track for that purpose by itself. So, all right, if we look at power, we're using 200 megawatts. I did finish beaconing up and putting modules in all the green circuits. We've got modules in all of our labs now. All the science packs are using productivity modules and speed beacons to maintain the speed. In the case of these guys here, I had to impinge on a walking path, which is unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. So pretty much everything important that we're going to be making in large quantities has beacons. And one thing I wanted to mention is that this does a great deal to reduce the amount of resources that we need to run the base. You know, when you think about it, like if we start with the blue circuits, for example, okay, these all have a 12% productivity bonus. and they use red and green circuits. Well, the red circuits also have a 12% productivity, or I'm sorry, 16% productivity bonus. Okay, so that's the 16% we're getting here is now multiplied by this 16% here. These are using plastic and green circuits. Well, the green circuits have a 16% productivity bonus. The plastic has a 16% productivity bonus. The copper wires are getting a productivity bonus. So when you cascade this all the way back, in fact, we could probably look at our consumption of copper plate, and I'm betting that we would see a decrease. Well, yeah, we could see a little bit of a decrease. But all these productivity bonuses really stack up, and they make a really big difference in how much ore and oil we need to consume. And I want to maximize that because, you know, like I've mentioned previously in the series, I don't want to be spending all my time setting up mining outposts because that gets kind of boring after a while. All right, this patch is almost mined out, much to my joy. Looks like we still have just a few miners left to go. Yeah, these are probably still going to last a little while, but we can get rid of this splitter at least. Wow, that didn't work, did it? I need to connect to this signal back there. That could have been very bad for me. I'll just use wooden power poles to be consistent. Let's hook this up. And I don't know if that matters if I hook it to the same side or not. Let me try this. Yeah, I think it does. All right, so let me disconnect that one. I'll put another pole on this side so that we can reach. Okay, let's send a train away. All right, so hopefully when this one comes down, these gates will close. No, it's not working. Read signal. Oh, I think I know why. Red less than 1? Yeah, it opens when there's no red signal, so why didn't that turn red when the train came? Or maybe it did. Let me send this one back just so we can see what happens. Oh, I see what's going on. All right, let me connect this one to the green network. I think our red signals are conflicting with one another. Oh, and I never hooked it up there. So maybe that's why. All right, let me try this again. Maybe it will work. There we go. Okay, now I just need a train. Let's We'll send the oil train away. Let's see what happens this time. There we go. All right, good. So, sorry I didn't want to spend my time doing that today, but that's important. Okay, so as I was saying, if we look at our power, we started with 80 megawatts of consumption, and just by adding all those modules and stuff, we're now up to 230, and we're kind of nearing the limits of our nuclear. Well, we've already exceeded the limits of our nuclear power. I think right now we can do 130 megawatts with the 260 megawatts. So what I'd like to do today is add 2 more reactors. Now, we're going to do more than just double what we have because of the neighbor bonus. So you can see right now with 2 reactors, we're getting, each one of these is getting a neighbor bonus from the other. So each one has 100% neighbor bonus. And by doing that, these 2 reactors essentially produce enough heat, or produce the same heat as 4 individual reactors. Because we have 1, 2, and then we have 100% bonus on each one. So that's 4 total. Now when we add 2 more reactors, now each reactor is going to be adjacent to 2 other ones. So each one is going to get a 200% bonus. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 200, 200, 200, and 200. So that's going to be the equivalent of 12 reactors. And because of that, we're going to have to add more than just double the number of heat exchangers and turbines. All right, so let's take a look at our blueprint book. This will get us up to 480 megawatts. And that one is going to require a lot more stuff. So I'm going to have to update our logistics network over here to start producing the additional components. We can go ahead and add the reactors, and we'll just ghost whatever we need to, and then we can come back and get the rest later. But now we're going to need 48 heat exchangers. We're going to need 84 turbines. We are going to need 189 heat pipes. We'll just call it 200. And only 2 more reactors. Okay, so the reactors we have, and I'll just grab whatever we've got here of these other parts. We'll go lay down the blueprint, and then we can come back to pick up more components. Okay, and I've arrived to the reactor. We're continuing to get occasional attacks there by the steam power. And I think they're coming from up there. I might make a trip out there sometime soon to see what's going on. Okay, so right now we've got 85,000 steam. So our green light is on. That means that steam is below half. So on the next cycle, we're going to insert more fuel. Okay, so let's take a look at our blueprint. And unfortunately, the 2 reactors that we're going to add need to go precisely where I placed my control circuit. So we're going to have to relocate this. All right, so let me blueprint that whole thing. And I'll just put it up here. Okay, so I need 6 decider combinators. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it here before I pull this one up. That way if... let's see. Inventory's full. What can I get rid of? There we go. That way, if anything's not working right, we can troubleshoot it before we disconnect this. Okay. So I think I just need to connect. I think if I just connect the red and green wires over here, it could work. Let's check it out. Okay, and we need a red signal there. Okay. Let's see. And then, yeah, this needs to go to this combinator. So let me bring another power pole over here. Well, no, I can't put it there. It's got to be like here. Okay, so this is our set signal. So this has to connect to that inserter. And then our reset has to connect to this one. All right. And those red and green wires should be separate from all the rest of these. All right, so I have steam, I have the set and the reset, and I think that is all that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart. Let's get rid of something here. And I can remove... Well, I have to remove that one. Okay, so we need a way to get these signals over to the other side as well. Oh, and yeah, this is important. We need the insert signal to come over here. And that was on a green wire. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna need more greens. Okay, so let me connect this one. Okay, I don't have my steam signal anymore. Steam signal has to come up here. There we go. Okay. Sometimes it's a challenge to keep all these signals separate. So I'm just going to blueprint this one so that it starts with, oh no, it's not going to start with the circuit conditions. Okay. All right. Should all be working now. So we have the light for fuel. which is correct. We have no light for steam because our steam is above the threshold. So that is correct as well. And this is the one telling us to insert. Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to lay this down. Okay, so now we can take the 4-reactor version and we can just overlay it here. I do need to remove these turrets. Those are in the way. For Pete's sakes. Let's get rid of some of this junk that I'm holding. Okay, let's try this one more time. And I have turrets here as well. Great. And my inventory is full yet again. Alright. That goes there. Alright. And I need to make a few underground pumps. Or offshore pumps. I don't know why I always want to call them underground pumps. There we go. Alright, so we went from 2 columns of heat exchangers to 6 columns of heat exchangers. Now these don't have the inserters on them, so we need to set that up manually. Alright, so I'm just copy pasting the settings onto the requester chests, and then we can connect this was just supposed to read with a hold, right? And then I'll disconnect this one, so that way the closest one is going to be connected. And then we need to hook the green wires up to the fuel inserters and copy those settings as well, so they only turn on when they get a blue signal. Green wire over here, copy paste. Okay, and then we take out the extras and we could just put that in our trash. Okay. Now, if we look at the neighbor bonus, you'll notice that these 2 reactors only have 100%, and that's because these are the only 2 that have fuel inserted. So the neighbor bonus only applies for reactors that are fueled up and running. So let's put some fuel in. And then we can see that the neighbor bonus is 200 on each of the reactors. Okay. So they all have fuel inserted. But since I put all that in manually, our set signal is not activated. So it doesn't know that we have fuel, but we can do that manually. If I just send it an S signal, then it'll turn itself on. There we go. And then we can remove that. All right, so now the system knows that there is fuel inserted. And these are going to run out at different times, but it'll get itself all synchronized on the next cycle. Okay, so I am going to run back and get more turbines and heat exchangers and heat pipes. We should also add We should also add more steam since we're increasing the capacity of the system. We want to be able to bank more steam because the amount of steam that we're buffering here will be consumed much faster. Okay, so let me go take care of that, and I'll be back in a few moments. All right, I'm back. All of the components are now assembled. Something is missing, however. What is it? Oh, we're missing temperature. This is something you have to be careful of. When I added all these heat exchangers all at once and connected the heat pipes, adding all that cold metal to the system cooled everything down. So you can see that even the reactors are still hot enough, but even the heat exchangers that were already running were cooled down. See, and look how slow they're trying to insert now. Wow. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. That'll suck all the heat out of the system, and then everything will grind to a halt until the temperature comes back up again, which shouldn't take more than a couple minutes. And our steam is pretty close to zero now. Speaking of steam, I'm basically doubling up on our tanks. We just have to remember to wire the rest of them together. Every tank has to have a red signal attached to it and connected to the other red signals. Okay. Right, so we can see the steam starting to come back. Our temperature's starting to come up again. These second couple of rows are still cold, but we should be able to see our power starting to come back. Yeah. So now we're up to 180 megawatts, and we're not even using half of our capacity. So that's what I like to see. Yeah, it looks like everything should be running now, except for this row over here. It's still a little bit cold, but that'll be up again in a second. And then I have wired something together here. Okay, those are red signals coming from up here. So I wired this constant combinator with a steam engine on it, and I wired it to the green signal, and this goes all the way back to the main base via our rail network, because we've got red and green wires through the entire rail network. And then I strung a green wire all the way up to this power switch. And I set this power switch to turn on when it gets a steam engine signal. So that way we can turn the steam engines on and off from here. All right, so we turn it on, we can see the steam engines come on because we throw the switch that connects it to the rest of the network. And if we want to turn it off, we just turn it off, and that should then disconnect them. Yep. So that's an easy way to turn our steam power on in case we're over here and power runs low for whatever reason. We can do that remotely without having to go all the way back to the main base. Okay, last thing real quick. Now that we have double the amount of steam storage, I want to increase our threshold. So we can now store up to 400,000 units of steam. We have 170 right now. So I'm going to change this to 200,000. We should probably actually triple it since we essentially tripled what we had before, but I don't want to go nuts with the steam. All right, so this ought to insert on the next cycle. Yep, there we go. Okay, and then we'll continue to build up some steam. Just want to check on our uranium processing real quick. Yeah, we have 236 pieces of uranium. That's good for 2,360 fuel cells. So We got plenty of fuel. We've got plenty of uranium. Like I said, this should last us possibly the whole game. We'll see. In any case, that's going to do it for today. In the next episode, what I'd like to do next is start making solid fuel so that we can use that for smelting and for train fuel. We could also use it for our steam power as well. And basically we want to get to the point where the coal is pretty much used exclusively for plastic. And I'd like to use solid fuel for everything else. The decision we'll have to make is whether we want to use oil for the solid fuel or coal liquefaction. Seems like we have more oil on the map than we do coal at this point. So right now I'm kind of leaning towards setting up a station to make solid fuel using oil. You know, we've got three that were not tapped yet. For coal, we just have this one here, that one there, and a couple small ones over here. Oh, there's one up here as well. So I guess I could go either way. I'll give it some thought, and we'll get that figured out soon. Until then, thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.